Alrighty, well, I am LaTanya White. I'm an entrepreneur, educator, and mentor, and I'm happy today to be talking with a new really good friend, RDBryant, who is a writer, yogi, and a healer. So today, Robin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. I want to talk a little bit about, well, my whole platform is becoming fearless and how women of color are really making waves that a lot of people don't know about, and I want to be able to bring, shed some light on the path that we are taking in our journeys together, how we're complementing each other and lifting each other up. So tell us how you got here. Tell us about what you do.
Wow. Okay, I'll try to do the short version. I can talk.
Okay.
So I have a healing center here in our town that teaches somatic healing. So things that are based in the body, yoga, meditation. I do Reiki. I do something called TRE, and we can talk a little bit about that. But I got here through my own experiences and just had a health crisis. I'm a breast cancer survivor, and in the middle of kind of recovering from the treatment, I needed to start to find a way to feel like I belonged in my body. After a lot of interventions from people and surgeries and all of that sort of stuff, I felt really foreign to myself, and it started, simply enough in the Y. My husband and I had gotten a membership, and the only class that I could actually make it through was a yoga class, and so I started doing yoga and realizing some of the things that were happening. Of course, I was getting my flexibility back. I felt like I was getting stronger, but I wasn't feeling scared in my own body anymore, and I wasn't feeling disconnected. And I wanted to be able to teach other people that. And so each of the modalities that I've kind of run into, I've discovered in the same way. Somebody's like, I'm going to go do this thing, or a friend of mine was doing her certification for a TRE program and needed people to work on, and I'd recently lost my job and I was stressed, and she said it's free, and I said perfect, And I've always just kind of looked at everything I've had and said, okay, if I need to have all of these tools in my healing tool belt, what do they look like? And I've just been picking these things up along the way, and often and early I started thinking there's got to be a way for you to share this with other people, because I know that there are people that need the same kind of help that I'm looking for.
Okay. And so is that the somatic healing aspect of it?
Yes.
Okay.
So, the somatic healing I have that I've worked with weaves together yoga, Reiki, TRE.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the classes are eclectic and lets people kind of experience these things in ways that they may not have, period, or they may not have before, so that folks can start to look at it and say, well, these things are all really adaptable. That's a big thing for me, that you would be able to come and learn kind of the basics and start to look at it and say, this is how I can fit this into my life, and this is how it makes sense for me.
Okay. Well, what you hear me talk about a lot is the whole becoming fearless thing, and fearless actually is an acronym. So we've talked a little bit about your foundation. So the F in fearless is foundation, and then it's evaluating the landscape and analyzing your position in the market and things of that nature. So you talked to us a little bit about how you first decided that healing was right for you, but how would our listeners or how would our audience gauge if somatic healing is right for them?
I think one of the things that I see often when people walk in my door, and this is fortunate or unfortunate, just depends on if you're an optimist or not, are people that have kind of tried everything. And so a lot of people show up. For yoga, you show up for yoga. You just want to learn how to stretch, or you want to move your body, and that when it moves itself into something deeper, something changes the more you do it. But these other modalities, people show up in some ways kind of at the end of their journey. They may have tried Western medicine. They may have tried meds. They may have tried, for people that are dealing with, deep stress or deep trauma, they may have tried talk therapy and all of its varieties. And, it's one of those things where they kind of hear about it and they go, I don't know if this will work, and they show up because they've been searching for things and seeking for things. So people that come to me are often curious, often know that there is some sort of spark that's missing in their lives, and know that they've got some old stuff that they've been carrying around that they're just ready to let go of. And that's how they find themselves with me.
Cool. And I can't wait to reschedule my session. So thank you for being flexible in that regard.
Absolutely.
So with your background and your experience, from an analysis standpoint, what would you say are some pitfalls that the audience should be on the lookout for, and how could they avoid pitfalls and, just kind of falling deeper and deeper into the hole of I'm not getting what I need from a healing process? What would you analyze for them as a recommendation?
I think one of the big things after one of the biggest things I think that I always tell people is if somebody tells you that they have the answer, then that's something to step back from. I think that like everything else, there are parts and pieces. There are things that work for some people better than others. There are some things that work really well at a certain point in your life or a certain point in the year or a certain point in the month. I mean, it could be anything. And so anyone that tries to kind of pigeonhole you and say, okay, I've got the thing, I'm very wary of that because I know that everything about me is often shifting. And so because those things are shifting, there's no way that somebody can say, I've got it. I've got the one thing for you. And so I think that's really important. I think that people should look at it and see, what are people offering? What kind of guarantee are they giving you? So even if they don't say that they're the one, does the guarantee feel really bigger than what you think you might experience? So I've run into some folks where they're like, oh, if you do these things in this program for 6-8 weeks, then all of this stuff, and the list is huge and it feels pretty tremendous. All of these things will happen. And I've run into people that have kind of bought into that sort of stuff. And, it's in the same way of anything else. You got to let the buyer beware. You've got to really look at it and say, does this make sense? Do you really think that it's possible to make these very big claims? And the third part about it, and I think this may be the most important thing, is that you need to meet with the person that you're going to work with, and you got to listen to your gut. No matter how much you want something to be different, if your gut's saying, I don't know about this person and I may not be a good match, then thank them for their time and see if you can find somebody else. But don't try to force the relationship to feel comfortable, because if you're doing healing work, you need to be able to be vulnerable in the space that you're in with the person and in the environment. And if anything feels uncomfortable for you, it's okay to walk away from that because you're already there trying to let something go. You don't need to pick up something in the space that you're trying to get healing.
Oh, my God, that's powerful. That's really powerful. And thank you for your transparency with that, because you won't hear a lot of people say that, I might not have the right answer for you. So I appreciate you for sharing that. On your Facebook page, I noticed a lot of your most recent content is looking at emotional trauma and how that leads to addiction. What are your thoughts on that, and have you experienced that with any of your clients or even personally?
So yes, the research that they're doing now is showing, this connection, especially these childhood traumas, and I'm an armchair therapist, so I'm not going to use technical terms, right? But if we think about, we've got little kids in our care right now, and they have the emotional capacity, the same emotional capacity that we have to be scared, to be happy, to be, angry, to be sad, and they don't have the vocabulary for it.
Yeah.
And so I really look at this time in childhood as the children are kind of forming themselves and also forming their ability to communicate with the world as a really vulnerable time. And so they're starting to link a lot of childhood traumas to addiction, because people that are dealing with addiction are really looking to let go of some pain, to fill either this vastness, this thing that feels empty, or to numb something that feels like it's too much. I mean, that's the simplest way that I can explain it is that something feels off, and I'm going to use this, and you insert whatever your thing is. I'm going to use that thing to get away from this feeling that I'm not comfortable with. And that could be, feeling lonely or isolated. Right. It could be feeling angry or feeling a lot of pain. And so people just kind of medicate in all sorts of ways. It could be anything. And so, yes, this unresolved trauma, and there's trying to, your body wants you to be whole. Your body wants you to be happy and balanced. And so it's always trying to work back to that. And if we can find ways to do that in a healthy way, we can help ourselves move back towards something that feels a little more balanced. But if we don't have those resources, then we might reach for something that's not as good for us. And the goal is always the same, that I want to be happy, I want to be healthy, I want to be whole. But if I drink to excess, I may not be able to do that. Or if I gamble, I may not be able to do that. If I am sexual in a way that is not overall good for me, I'm not slut-shaming here. I'm not trying to put that label on it. But if it's too much for me, and I'm using this in a way to numb out from something, it could be anything that I pick up. It could be exercise, honestly, anything that keeps me away from the true feelings that I'm having and trying to find a way to balance those out so that I feel okay.
Yeah.
And so, absolutely. And I do. I've got a great number of clients that have in their lives or are in their lives dealing with addiction. I think that I find that people that are dealing with addiction sometimes are the hungriest people for help, and sometimes the most earnest, because you don't start to do that kind of work without taking some really hard looks at yourself. And those are the folks that come in and kind of say, okay, let's do this. Let's make sure that this moves forward, because they're trying to find some other ways to cope.
Oh, man. Wow. And that's actually a really great segue to my next question. Certainly, in the ambassador program, I know it's the TRE, there are 3 sessions, but in the next 30, 90 days, or even a year from now, what would you advise people to start working on to get the type of healing that you advocate for, certainly in addition to coming to From the Ashes healing? But what are some other things that you might recommend? I remember in the intake form, there was a question about what am I doing personally, and there was journaling or meditation. So what are some of those things that you recommend?
I'll say this with a caveat. I will throw journaling out there, and I'm saying this as a writer who does not journal on a regular basis, right? So just so people aren't hearing this and going, oh, so she's one of those people that gets up at 6 in the morning and writes every day. Absolutely not. But what I really do with myself and what I do with my clients is I do prompts, because I will answer a question before I'll sit down with a blank page. And so there are ways you can find those prompts, or you can read something if you're doing self-help reading and something that stands out to you, and you can write that at the top of the page and then respond to it. Or you can do, and this is my favorite one, this isn't one to do in public, because I'm a person that if I get hit by a visceral response when I'm writing, I'll cry, and I don't want to cry in Starbucks. But what does you could write to your body, what do you want me to know? And then just let your pen go. And the things that you'll find, my body is often, first of all, she cusses a lot, and she's always telling me to rest, to step back and let go and rest. And it may be physical rest, or it could be resting my mind, but that is the overarching message that I always hear is, slow down and rest. It's okay. And so that's one thing, journaling for sure. You hear a lot about mindfulness practices, and you can take a mindfulness meditation class, and I think that's I think it's valuable if that's something that you're interested in doing. But a friend of mine offered me the most simple way. He said, mindfulness basically is kind of pulling back from everything and focusing in on one thing and paying attention to that. And so he does his mindfulness meditation while he washes the dishes by hand. He hates it. It's his least favorite chore. But that's where he does his meditation. He pays attention to the way the water moves, the way the soap runs off a plate, right? And so he focuses in on that to give himself a chance to slow down. So, some people do that brushing their teeth. You can sit somewhere, inside or outside and notice what you see or hear or smell. If you're eating, how the food tastes. Any way to kind of zoom in on one thing and pay attention to all of it. Slows your heart rate down, slows your breath down, and most people can do that without a lot of work. The biggest thing for anybody, I think, moving into healing, no matter what else they may be doing, is to stop living from the neck up and start to pay attention to your body. I lived for, I think, probably 40-some years before I was living from the neck down as well. And so, I could be sick or tired or injured. I was eating things that don't agree with me. I was eating things that I was allergic to. I was just ignoring my body going, hey, this isn't good for you. This isn't working for you. And now it's a lot different. Like, I can actually even, it could sound weird. Somebody's going to hear this and it's going to make sense to them, but I can feel my feet. I never noticed the lower part of my body for years. And so this kind of work helps that. We're more than our minds, we're more than our bodies, but we need both of them to connect to who we are in a bigger way.
Gotcha. Wow. So I have so many more questions, but just, in the interest of time,
Okay.
Tell me what's next for you. What's next for what you're doing and for From the Ashes Healing?
I think part of, what I really want to be able to do is to move out into the communities in different sorts of ways. So I've got a little something brewing that I probably, that's something somebody is going to have to connect with me on Facebook or the website. I don't want to put it out there too quickly yet, but it feels very large. There are some things that I'm looking at for organizations. There are particular types of employment that will raise your stress levels for sure, and raise the incidence of trauma that you might experience doing your day-to-day job. And for those folks to live well and work well, they need some sort of relief. So I'm trying to make those sorts of connections. We'll be moving some things. Right now we're brick and mortar right in the space, so you can do some individual things online via Skype or Zoom or what have you, whatever people are using. But I'm really looking at, what can I offer people that will allow them to do work self-paced. So I did a demo with my brother. It wasn't even like a planned sort of thing, but we lost our father around Christmas last year and got on the phone and had one of those deep heart-to-hearts about what are we doing with our lives? What are we going to do? Are we living our true lives? That sort of thing. We're pretty heady in my family, and so he was feeling pretty stuck. And I had taught a workshop called Getting Unstuck, and I said, I'm not going to get on, Skype with you and take you through a yoga class and teach you TRE this way, because I don't think that you're going to make time for me in your crazy schedule to do that. And he laughed, and I said, but I can send you these prompts. And so I sent him 6 weeks worth of prompts every day around 10 or 11, because I figured that was the time in the morning he would start goofing off. And, that was it, Monday through Friday, because he wouldn't do the work on the weekend. And, there was a shift there for him. And I was like, well, this is really lovely. And so I've developed more things like that I can put out for people so that, if they're remote or if they're local and it feels too big to walk into the center right now, they can start their journey at home with a pen and a piece of paper, so that there'll be an opportunity for them to get connected to themselves and see how that feels and see if it feels safe and it feels valuable to them. And they've got these opportunities to work in different sorts of ways. So really excited about that, to start looking and working with organizations. I've got my people, I've got my hand in my heart thinking about them right now, specifically sexual abuse survivors are my folks. I believe in how this work works for them, and so making connections on that level, and then being able to bring some work online that is a little different. It's embodied writing, so we're not going to be doing the same sort of body work you would be doing in person. but really allowing people to connect to their emotions, their feelings, their bodies as they're writing, because the prompts will help to elicit that response.
I am a huge fan of information marketing and information products, and that's really what creates the leverage, because it's all about how many people can we truly impact. And a lot of what happens, especially for minority-owned businesses and women of color who we're juggling full-time jobs most of the time, in addition to full-time families and these full-time entrepreneurial aspirations. These are the things that keep us up at night. But what I've found in just the last six or 8 months or so is there is this underground community of information marketers where people who and you have to have a certain confidence and a certain onus of your own expertise and brilliance to really leverage information marketing, but it's taking what you know and packaging it, putting it on paper, getting branded letterhead and all those kinds of things, and putting it in a package where people can get access to it without you having to be that go-between, or, they just don't have to pass through you to get access to it. So by all means, I encourage you to run with that. And if I can be of service in any way with that, definitely let me know how I can help.
Oh, I will definitely. You're on my list. You're on my list. I'm starting this weekend. I'll start working on I'm doing a 15-month plan, because I can do the pre-planning stuff here between October and December 31st, and making sure that that's ready to launch early in the spring is part of what's going on that plan. Because I can only be, think about it, if people are working like you and I are, full-time job, maybe part-time job, and side hustle, depending on what's going on in your life, you've only got so much time in the day. So if you can figure out a way to duplicate your efforts without duplicating your time, it's really a good way to allow you perhaps to start to make a transition from very many jobs to perhaps your venture being what is the major plunder of your life. And so I think that's really an exciting movement that people are making.
Absolutely. Well, just as we wrap up, do you have any products or services or freebies that you want to offer to the audience?
I think yes, I do. Especially if people are interested in coming for TRE, I'm really trying to move that out into the community. I am especially connected to our community, of course. So if anybody is interested in taking that, they should email me at robin@fromtheasheshealing.com and reference this call, and I'll offer them a discount. I'll take, let's be nice here. I'll take $50 off the price. It's $150 for the 3 classes, and I'll do that. I'll do that for let's do it for 20 people. Let's say that feels so. It's first come, first serve. People should email me directly so that I know, and I can give them a code that they can put in and go in and sign up for these courses. We've got some. I kind of put them out just a month at a time because I'd like to fill the class as much as I can. But, I'll work with people if they know what their schedules look like, and we'll try to do that. But, first 20 people, let me know that they heard me here, and we'll knock $50 off the prices.
Wow, that is so generous of you. Thank you so much for sharing that with everyone. I look forward to you getting a flood of emails.
Thank you.
And then on my end, just from the Fearless Freebie standpoint, I invite everyone to join me in the Entrepreneurs Top 5. It's our Facebook business community, and it's based on the premise that you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So if you want to be made whole, if you want, and your body craves that healing, then you need to be spending more time with Robin. So that's all I have. Just a reminder, in closing, that the value that we offer to the world is in the transformation that we inspire in others. And Robin, I thank you for sharing the transformation and the change that you're affecting in the lives of people in our community and around the world.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah. All righty, so we will chat with you later.
All righty. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, bye.
Bye.